Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bombs. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
One of the most transformative moments for me in my leadership training was when I was asked a simple question. It was during an exercise where everyone chooses a partner and talks about one change they want to make in their life. I was talking about wanting to write more and going around in circles about how I couldn't seem to get motivated to do it. And week after week, I'd set a goal to write, but was never actually did it. And week after week, it made me unhappy. So my training partner stopped me and asked, "Why do you want to write?" It seemed so obvious, and yet I never asked myself that question before. Instead, I kept trying to force myself to do it, going through the same stress every time. That moment encapsulates the meaning of purpose for me. It's the answer to the question why. Well, my next guest joining me in the Sound Bombing studio has been helping people answer that question during many of her workshops and seminars throughout the country. Who am I talking about? I'm talking none other than Dr. Tasheka L. Green, a transformational servant leader who leads with her heart of a servant, but the mind of a leader. She views leadership not as a job or a career, but a calling with a greater purpose. Dr. Green has over 19 years of experience as an educator. She is an inspirational speaker, influential coach, 13-time best-selling and international best-selling author, entrepreneur, philanthropist, talk show host, and I just found out a singer, and we're going to talk about that later on. The founder and president and chief executive officer of To Everything There Is a Season Enterprises, which comprises of the following entities: the Deborah C. Offer Bojan Business and Leadership Development Institute, To Everything There Is a Season Publishing, the Deborah C. Offer Bojan Memorial Foundation, Women of Virtue, Walking in Excellence Awards, Signature by William Green, and I Am a QT, Queen in Training. Yes, I said a QT. I like that. A Queen in Training. She serves with the focus to support individuals and organizations in identifying the gifts and talents within themselves and providing them with the system, structures, and resources to fill their purpose. Dr. Green is the Chief Educational Strategy Consultant for To Everything There Is a Season, Inc. Her competency in education and innovative coaching techniques influences personal professional development and organizational change. Because of her competency with bringing coherence to improving culture, systems, structures, and people, Dr. Green is sought after by many, and I got her in my studio. The work of Dr. Green garnered her a feature in the Harvard University School of Education Harvard X course, Introduction to Data Wise, a collaborative process to improve learning and teaching. Dr. Green's extensive background has followed her to touch and inspire many lives. Her heart leads her to benefiting all people on their journey and to greatness. And she is going to touch your life today. Dr. Green, welcome to the Sound Bombing Studios. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And I tell you, that introduction was something. It was the energy behind it. I loved it.
First of all, you are so amazing. When my producer did her due diligence, we go hardcore. But the one thing that blew me away out of all the things that I discovered is a singer. And we're going to bless you with that voice at the end of the show. So let's just get down to it. Welcome to 2020. What's happening?
Yes, 2020 is the year to hashtag just go for it. Everything that was promised to you, just go for it and watch it manifest. So I'm excited to be in the new decade.
So you heard me talk about being in a seminar. And so as a speaker like you, I get a chance to travel across the country. And sometimes I need to be poured into. I talk about, us in our positions, we're constantly pouring and pouring and pouring to other people. And I always say, who ministers to the minister, who makes the clown laugh. So I'm sitting in the seminar and one of those things where you sort of turn to your partner and your partner has a conversation. And so we're talking about this whole thing about my why. And I was sharing with my partner about wanting to write more. And I speak a lot, but I need to push myself to write more. And then it came to this question, the question of why. So let's start with that. What is your why?
So my why, thank you for asking, Dr. Lamar. A lot of people ask me that all the time. What is your why? Or what motivated you and inspired you to do all these things? And so I always share with people that I don't think that I was inspired but motivated, but I had to go through a process that called pain that birthed my purpose and my why. And so I take that back, actually a decade ago, in 2010, my mother, she passed away with stage 4 stomach cancer. She was 53 years old. She was diagnosed, and 30 days later from her onset, she had passed away. And before she had passed away, I just saw in her so much that she could not give birth to, so much that she did not accomplish in her time. But she had finished her assignment, but she hadn't been able to accomplish everything that she needed to do. And so within that time, she had spoke to me and she said, I need to pass this mantle on to you. And when you take it, go with urgency to do the work, to fulfill what it is that you need to do. And not only do that, but help others to accomplish and understand their why and to walk in it. And so that's why I always say, if you are still here, go and live a purposeful life. You need to acknowledge the why. I tell people, don't worry about the how and the what. That'll happen. Strategically, things will fall in place, but understand the why, understand your purpose. Mark Twain said it best, that the 2 most important days of your life are when you are born and when you understand why you were born. And so that why for me was when my mother passed away. And I realized that if she hadn't passed away, I would still be ordinary and not extraordinary. I would not have written 13 books, because the first book that I actually wrote was birthed out of her death. It was called To Everything There's a Season. And it was a season when I was going through so much trauma, so much depression, so much anxiety. I was also pregnant, 7 months pregnant with my daughter, which would have been her first daughter. And I was experiencing all of this, and I just needed help. I needed my own self-healing. And so I began to write. And when I wrote that book in 2010, it was never released until 2014. And when I released it in 2014, I released it because I believe that when we go through a process, we're supposed to go through it. But at the end, we should teach the principles to other people. And so I had to teach what I had learned through that grieving, what I had learned through those challenges, what I had learned through the depression and anxiety, to help someone who may be going through, so that their experience would not be as crucial, and they would know that there's some support, there's someone there that can say, I truly understand. Because there's a difference between understanding and empathizing. You can understand because you have gone through that, but then you can empathize because you have those feelings that you have for that person. So now, even when it comes to different things, I don't tell people I understand unless I really understand it. I may empathize with them, but I may not understand. But I know I understand the death of a mother. I understand what pain, produces. I understand going through depression, anxiety, and coming out being successful, being victorious. And so that is really my why. My why was because of that. But also, when I look at my children and my family every day, I want to be able to say that the mantle was passed to me. I built a legacy, and now I'm a part of a history.
So you talked about, and I appreciate your sort of transparency, because again, reading your bio, spending time around, talking to you prior to the show, getting notes from my producer, I look at a person like you who looks like they got it all together. 13 books, traveling all over the country, lecturing, pouring into other people. And then you say that tragedy shows up on your doorstep. So where do you sort of pull from for your inspiration when you feel like that you have nothing else to give to the people that surround you and even to yourself?
That's good, Dr. Lamar. And you said it right at the beginning, like, who's encouraging the encourager? Who's ministering the minister? Who's supporting the supporter? And that is a very vital point, that when you are pouring out so much, you need that reciprocated and poured back into you. And so my motivation is really my family, my husband, and my children, and knowing that I'm carrying out this legacy. You had said at the beginning, I am a QT queen in training, and you love that. And actually, I'm a cutie queen in training is the second book that my 9-year-old daughter authored. And so that's her, and she's just talking about, I'm beautiful, doing these affirmations. I am smart. I am brilliant. I am born from a legacy, and that I am a queen in training. And so my children inspire me, my family inspire me, and of course my faith, my inspiration from my faith, my belief and my hope in God. I actually have a wonderful leader by the name of Bishop Donald Anthony Wright, that I have been under his tutelage and leadership for over 21 years. And not only is he, a bishop and pastor, but he is a licensed 3-time PhD clinical psychologist. So, he helps you with the faith aspect, but he also helps you with that whole mindset and that mental aspect of pulling yourself out of those places and out of those dark places and getting to that point of where you were born to be great. And so I pull a lot from him. And so those are really my inspiration and my motivation. And I don't miss a beat. I read a lot. So I read, different books. Right now I'm reading a book that I actually was a part of, but I did not read the entire book. It's called True Wealth Begins in the Mind by Lisa M. Jones. So reading those type of books and reading articles and just listening to tapes and continue to pour in my ear. I said there's a difference between a noise and a sound. And to continue to pour in my ears the sound that my ears need to hear to continue to inspire me, motivate me, make me better, and reach for becoming with all the things that I was designed to become.
So for a person that's constantly pouring into other people and writing about change, do you ever find it difficult going to other people asking for help? Because I know a lot of us, in particular in certain communities other, than others, in particular the African American community, some of the more minority communities, we somewhat tend to find it difficult to ask for support. Have you ever been at that sort of crossroad? And if you have been at that crossroad, what did you do to sort of circumvent that particular issue?
Yes. And I smile as you ask these questions, because I have been at that crossroad where I just did not want to ask for help. It was called a choice that I didn't want to ask for help. A lot of times, I thought that, I was the only one that could do it, or I was the only one that could do it right. But then I realized one day that it was a choice of not asking for help. And why was it a choice? Because it was two things that was holding me up. It was my pride and my mind. And when I realized that if I dropped my pride and I changed my mind and asked for the help and really did not worry about what others thought or perceived, then I realized that the help came in numbers, that people were just waiting, to be a support and an assistant, and things got done quicker and better. And so, yes, I have been at the point where I have not asked for help and support. And then I realized I can't do it all because I was bearing the weight of so much. It was so much pressure. It was so much, I would say, stress. It was so much of a load. And if I'm out here practicing and talking about self-care and these types of topics, then I need to first start with myself. I'm the first partaker of anything. A lot of times I like to say this, and my bishop says it all the time. I'm talking to myself, but I'm just letting you listen. And so what I had to discover was, Tasheka, you need to drop your pride and change your mind, which means that your choices have to look different now. And you need to ask for help, and not just ask for help, but also seek out people that that want to help you, that will support you, that embraces your vision and will nurture it the same way that you did. So everybody you can't ask, but the ones that celebrate you and that tolerate you and that nurtures your vision and believe in you, then those are the ones that you should be seeking and getting the help.
So,
from.
Takesha, where do you think that comes from, this whole piece where I don't want to ask for help or support? Where do you think that comes from?
That personally for me, that came from pride, and we know the proverb that says pride comes before the fall and pride leads to destruction. And so my whole aspect was pride because, sometimes we put ourselves in this box called must be seen as, that if I'm seen as this type of person, then I'm not needing help. I can do it all. And so I was so caught up when I first, like I said, started my business, which is almost 5-6 years ago. I was so caught up with the I of what I saw and what, I perceived. But when I realized, wait a minute, you're really being deceived. People that look like, you said it yourself, look like they have it all together. They really don't. They had some struggles or some challenges or some things they had overcome. And it's okay to share your story, to share your experiences, to say, listen, I don't know, and seek help and support from people that have the answer. It's okay to say, hey, I'm lacking in this area. Can you help me? And again, Dr. Lamar, I go back to say, if the people really believe in your vision, that they nurture it and embrace it just as much as you do and protect it, they're going to be willingly available to be there for you. So to me, it comes from pride and also being deceived by what the eye sees.
Yeah. So what I love about your bio and about everything that I read, you talked about being a servant leader. Describe to our listeners out there, what does that actually mean to you as a servant leader? Because some people are just like, I'm just a leader. I'm a leader of this. I'm a leader of that. And my mentor said, if you lead if you lead, ain't nobody following you, just taking a walk. And so, but you added servant leader to the front of that. Define what that means to you and explain to our audience, what does Tasheka do in her sessions to explain or exemplify what that actually means in your work?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When I use the term servant leader, it simply means putting your agenda aside and really looking beyond that to say, how can I help and make things go right and better for someone else? And with that being said, I always go into a session, a seminar, a workshop, a professional learning community, or a coaching conversation with that in mind. I'm always thinking of who I call my learner or my audience and thinking, what do they need, and pulling the gifts, the talents, the strengths, and their potential out of them so they can realize, yes, this is what I need to do so I can get better, because if I get better, then the people I impact, the people I influence will get better. And so when you think about a servant leader, you think about one who actually serves people. You are serving people. So I don't go in and I don't announce myself as Dr. Tasheka Green, blah, 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 blah. I go in and I announce I'm Tasheka, and I feel just like you. I have emotions just like you. I have obligations just like you. I have priorities and things of that nature, but I am here for you and to serve you and to get what you need so that you can become the best version of you.
I love that. So, we talk about leadership. So transformational leadership is often referred to as a way of being rather than a way of doing. And a great theologian, Father Golden, states, he says, in religious life or service life is less about what we do than who we are. So how would you describe who you are, and how does who you are inform what you do?
That's a good question.
We don't mess around. We don't mess around here, Tasheka. We don't mess around with these questions. We ain't playing games.
And I love it. And you're talking my language, because I always say, stop focusing on the doing and start focusing on the becoming. And then, just really move in that direction to become what you see. And I always talk about being the answer that somebody needs. Somebody asked me this question last week when I was on an interview. What would you say to someone who's at a place where they're stuck? Like they want to write a book, or they want to start their business, or they want to, serve, in human services. What would you say to them? And I say to those people that your delay is holding up somebody's answer, because we are answers in the earth. We are here to be a solution and not a problem. And so when I look at the work that I do, I look at it as, what am I solving for this person or for this group? Even most recently, just this weekend, I have a group that I'm working with, and they wanted to put together an action plan. And so, so I'm like, okay, an action plan, but we're going to have everything I do, Dr. Lamar, always integrates and incorporate the why. And so we did a whole workshop on action plan with a purpose, that the organizations, the work can get done, but you have to see your bigger part in this work. What is your why and your contribution? So one thing that I always like to distinguish for people is the difference between a gift, a passion, and a purpose. And I say this all the time, that teaching is my gift, inspiring is my passion, but serving is my purpose. And when I put that all together, then I can fulfill the mission of what I need to do, whatever it is, if it's with an organization or if it's with an individual, if it's through writing a book. If I let that be my leading force, that knowing teaching is my gift, inspiring is my passion, and serving is my purpose, then the work can get done. If I go in with any other agenda, then I know that I have not accomplished what I needed to do for that group or that individual.
So with those 3 words, I love those 3 words. So I want to continue with that conversation. So what then is the ultimate vision of your work, or the intention of your work?
Yeah. So the ultimate vision and intention of my work is to provide personal, professional, and leadership development to help individuals to identify their skills, talents, and strengths, to maximize that to their greater, to their greater maximum potential. That's really it. So I come in and I do it all through coaching or, seminars or workshops. I do all of this work to help individuals personally, or organizations, professionals, and also leadership to identify their skills, talents, and strengths within them to maximize their greatest potential.
I love, man. You are so excited about what you do. And the reason why you're with me on the sound bombing right now, and the reason why these other folks that we decided to bring on, is because they're excited about their work. I mean, I love to hear passion in people's voices. You don't say I have a job. You say I'm serving, I'm giving back, I'm providing. And I think that those things are very, very important. So what do you feel has been the most rewarding aspect of the work that you've been doing lately?
Yeah, so the most rewarding aspect of the work that I have done lately is really, we always say when we're working with the students to see the light go off. And so because I've been doing a lot of things with the adults, just seeing them say, oh, yes, I can do this because. And so when I'm in a conversation, I just use this for example, when I'm in a conversation with an individual and we start to ask these reflective questions of them and start to pull out these answers that they didn't even think about. And so I tell them, they were like, oh my God, thank you. And I said, you know what? All you needed was a thought partner. And they go, I never thought of it that way. And so that's the rewarding part. And even when I'm thinking about it, it's such a burning zeal and passion when you see people say, I got it now, and I can do this, and I can make a difference in the lives of children, of students, of other adults, or make this organization. I'm working with organizations now that want to take their organizations to a multi-million-dollar level just to say we can do it. But guess what? We can't do it by ourselves. We have to be able to do it together and have a thought partner or someone. I always say I'm a purpose pusher. I'm a person that helps you to gravitate to greatness, to do all those great things because it's in you. You just need the right person and someone to pull it out of you. And I said, just think that if everybody, and research says that there's 5% of Americans that really know their purpose. And there's 152,000 self-help books in Amazon. And the industry for self-help is a $9.6 billion industry. So the industry continues to get rich, but people are still walking around not understanding why am I here? 5%. That is a problem. And so we need people, like you said, Dr. Omar, that don't look at it as a career mindset, but look at it as a purpose mindset, that are driven when they see other people become great.
So how important is it to foster a purpose mindset rather than a career mindset to obtain success in your
You said that again, Dr. Omar?
So how important is it to create to create and foster a purpose mindset rather than a career mindset to obtain success?
Oh, God, it is very important. Let's just start first on your health, okay? And we know that, people, they dread to go to work on Mondays. And also research shows you that most times when people have their heart attacks, it's usually on a Monday. And so when you look at a career mindset versus a purpose mindset, there are so many people that are sitting in their, I would say, their job or their professions now, and they just dread being there, or they're unhappy, or they're not being utilized to the highest level of their capacity. And so they start to have conversations around, I want another job, or I want to do this. And they always think, money answers all things. That is true. But I also believe that you don't have to chase it, that it will come looking for you.
I agree. I call it people over profit. When I started my organization, I wanted to serve individuals. And again, we do live in an economy where we need resources, but the people over profit concept, you do the work for the people, the profit will then show up. And I'm loving the direction that you're going in, because we have to sort of shift that thinking. The resources will show up. They will definitely show up, but you got to not only do you have to do the work, you have to do the work on yourself as well.
Exactly. And I even think of myself of where I have been, the past 19 years as an educator, starting out as a classroom teacher, working my way all the way up to, regional assistant superintendent, overseeing 15 schools in a large urban school district, until it got to the point where, wait a minute, you are at will, which means that you are at an executive level. And if the leadership changed at any given day, you could not have a job. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to still be fixated on a career mindset, or are you purpose driven behind your why and what you were called to do? And so when that day did come, talking about another experience in my life, when that day did come after 18 years of being a career educator and my position was eliminated, I had to make a decision. And the decision was, all of this preparation prepared me for my promise. And so it was steps along the way that I needed to have, so that when opportunity comes, preparation and opportunity will kiss, and it will result in my success. And so I had to take that and realize it's not a career. It's all about purpose and fulfilling it. And I'm telling you, when you take on that mindset, you are happier. And one thing I had to learn was definitely to assess and adjust, because when you're guaranteed, in transparency of getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, and now it's like, that's not happening. You really had to assess and adjust the matter. I had to assess and adjust. And I also had to realize, like you just said, that I don't have to go chase it. It will come looking for me. And I'm just so thankful to be at a place where I activated my faith. I realigned myself, and it was no longer this career mindset, and it's been purpose. And I've been so much happier, so much joy. I mean, even the testimony around self-care, I have lost over 70 pounds. I mean, just at a different place in my whole life, both physically, financially, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
I am so glad that you're hitting this living on purpose, because, without purpose, what's the point of getting up every day? Life can't just be about growing up, getting a job, taking a few vacations, and retiring. It has to have meaning and purpose. When they did the research around artists who were paid for a piece to paint a piece, and then artists who decided to do a piece on their own, when they connected them to all these different pieces of technology, when they were painting for themselves, their heart monitor sort of went up. It was raised at a different level. But when they were painting and doing work for other individuals, their heart was at a different, at a lower level, because they were painting to get paid, but their purpose for their artwork was to make the world a better place, to make people feel good, or to make them feel good. And I'm glad that you talked about this purpose mindset rather than a career mindset. That's something that if listeners that are out there, I want you to really, really pay attention to that purpose mindset rather than a career mindset. Now, you are an educator just like me. You worked in school systems, you worked in organizations, and I know you work with some crazy folks as well. I'm just using that term. I know you work with some organizations like, man, I know you done stepped in some stuff like, did I just step in something? So I know being a leader or a member of a very intentional organization or community can require a lot of energy. And I'm being politically correct, a lot of energy. Where do you pull from for your strength when you're working with these organizations that you like, am I the only one in here that's not seeing what's actually happening? You don't see this huge elephant. You don't smell that elephant poop in the room. So what nobody smells that in here. regardless of how much cologne and perfume you put on it. So where do you pull from for your strength?
I'm laughing because I had a flashback.
We ain't gonna call no school systems out now, all right?
I had to bring it back to the purpose mindset. But I pull on my strength from my other network of educators. So being in different school districts and traveling around, the United States and meeting some really great, phenomenal educators, I pull from that. And so I pull from, the leaders. I have, friends and colleagues that are superintendents. I have friends and colleagues that are still regionals and things of that nature, even classroom teachers. I pull from that. And I pull from just going to sit in the classroom. I still, currently I do work with an organization now of supporting their elementary schools in the system around closing the achievement gap, but really particularly looking at early literacy between K through 2 and looking at the teacher practices and those effective instructional practices to help improve that. And so going into the classroom and still being a part of that and sitting there and, listening to the conversations of the children, that's the strength that I pull from, because that continues to build upon my why. So when all of the craziness occurs and all of the different things that's trying to penetrate and be noisy pestilence in my ear, then I can easily turn that off and go to my colleagues, my support network, and go sit in the classroom and say, yep, this is why you do what you do every day.
Yeah, this did indeed. So that support system is important. I spoke at a church this weekend, and walking into the church, the pastor had, the sign outside to talk about, the sermon that they typically have. And this particular church says, this year we're going to create businesses. We're going to teach you to create businesses. And you are an educator turned entrepreneur. So I want to sort of, encourage some people that are out there in 2020 who are looking to sort of become an entrepreneur. What wisdom do you have for others who are looking to start their own businesses, become successful entrepreneurs, and reach their dreams? And then in addition to that, and this is a long question, what's the single most important thing that you learned in your entrepreneurial journey that you just did not know?
Okay. So I'll take the first part first. So let's talk about that. I think we already talked a little bit about it. Just stop focusing on the doing and start becoming. We could spend so much time inundated in the planning that we don't start to do the work. And I tell people all the time, when I started the business, and in particular, most recently, I'm just going full-time entrepreneur, that, I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a plan. It was more or less, I was pushed into this. Are you going to live or die? You're going to survive, or you're going to continue to struggle? What are you going to do? Because everything that you need is already in you, and the conditions were made. You just have to now tap into that and make sure you bring it out. And so I said, focus on becoming, and stop all this doing. Don't really focus on that. Also shifting that from that career mindset to the purpose mindset of taking on the why and understanding why you do what you do. I say stop looking and start pursuing. So get a clarity about your vision and mission and what you were born to do, and then put those systems and structures in place to progress towards that. And we just talked about this, surrounding yourself with the right people. There's people, but then there's also the right people, and the right people that can get you to the places that you need to do. And I say ability equals profitability, which means identify the skills and talents and strengths that you have that will yield advantageous returns or results. Reflect on the questions around what are you doing with the ideas and dreams and visions that you have, and what help do you need in order to make them come into reality. And my last one is no fear, only faith. You cannot do anything on the feeling, emotion of fear, only faith. And so you have the power to activate your faith. You have the power to create. You have the power to produce, and you have the power to become. And I simply define power as this. I use the letters POWER. I use it as this. Power is pushing out what is eagerly ready to come out. It's in you and it's ready to come out, and you have to activate your faith and just put it out, and let your words and your work be the substance that produces the evidence of the things that you are seeking.
So what's the single most important thing that you've learned in your journey as an entrepreneur? What I
learned in my journey as an entrepreneur is to stop being micro and to be macro. Because for the past 6 years, I have been micro. I had been writing books. And like you said, I had been, I have a song that I have produced on iTunes. I have, workshops and seminars that I've done. I have, different organizations that I've supported. But is that really my promise, or was that just micro work? And so I learned that I had to reach more towards the micro so that I could be global, so that I could be, national and international, and then I could be really, truly the answer. And so currently right now, I am working on, I used this term last week when I was speaking with, during another interview. I'm working on a project that I'm not quite ready to share because I don't believe you should share your fruit until it's ripe. And at that point to share. And then when I thought about what I said, this isn't a project. It's a manifested promise. It was a promise that I had said years ago that I was reminded of, and that the promise is still intact. But the problem is you didn't work towards it. You didn't put your focus there. You were being micro and not macro. And so when I realized that, whoa, wait a minute, I have to really have this laser focus on that. And so that's what I learned in this entrepreneurial journey, is that, are you being micro in your entrepreneurship, or are you being macro? And so with that being said, now, Dr. Lamar, 2020, I am laser focused on this work, and you better believe I'm going to be calling and pulling on you for your expertise and wisdom.
Well, you have blessed my listeners. I am over here taking so many notes. This is a great way to start 2020. Your wisdom, the acronyms that you have, the books, the accolades, the transparency. Folks, I want you all to check her out. Speaking of that, how can our listeners get in contact with you?
Yes, you can go to my website, which is seasons.com. So that's www.2eseasons.com. And you can go there, you can view it, and you can fill out the contact form, or you can call us directly at 1-866-475-3178. Follow me on social media, Dr. Tasheka L. Green. To everything, there's a season. It's your season. Go and live.
I'm telling you, folks, don't discount this sister. She got some amazing things happening. Go online and check her out. So, Tasheka, this is my favorite part of the show. It's called the Super Bomb Questions. And what this is I'm going to ask you some questions. These are rapid fire questions. And as soon as I ask the question, I want you to respond with the very first thing that comes to your mind, okay? So it's called the Super Bomb question. The very first thing that comes to your mind, all right? It's not called the super slow question. You got it? It's rapid fire. So here we go. What's your favorite word?
Manifestation.
What's your favorite quote or Bible verse?
Too much is given, much is required, too much is entrusted, much is demanded.
What dead person would you most like to meet or get advice from? What do you wish you had more time to do?
Oh my God, these are rapid fire answers. Read more books in a given period of time. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of books, what's the best book or books you've given most as a gift?
Ooh, my own. I am still here, living a purposeful life.
What is your superpower?
Woo, yes. I am a virtuous woman.
What's your spirit animal or animal spirit?
Lioness.
If you were in the Miss America talent competition, what would your talent be?
Singing.
Singing. And speaking of that, we're going to close out this segment with her beautiful song. But before we do that, I want to thank you, Dr. Tasheka L. Green, for joining me in the Bomb Studios. I also want to thank my producer, Tereri Ganges and Supremacy, for our theme music, and all of you for listening. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen and that some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess. Thanks for tuning in, and do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing.
Many times in our lives, we sit and wonder why God has us where He does. A living sacrifice to be an example to the world, so that everyone can see His goodness and His mercy, how His grace covers me. grow where God leads. You gotta shine so people can see. You gotta grow where you are and know that God will keep you. You gotta grow where God leads. You gotta shine so people